Hello everybody and welcome back to another Toonkind at 12 FPS. My name is Avi, and today I will be playing a certain lawyer from Yeddo, in Yeddo, named Sai Yoshihiko. And today with me is my wonderful friend, whom I love very much.
Oatmeal, hello. Aw, shush, I love you too. Um, I am Oatmeal, and today I will be playing the professor who is trying to get to the bottom of all the crazy stuff that's been happening.
You and, apparently most of everyone else.
Yeah.
Uh, you did
There's a whole team.
the whole team. You did, hear back from Moria and I think Jubilee about some strange things that y'all have picked up. Um,
Yeah.
how's Professor feeling about some of the weird things that Moria's found?
Um, uh, it's weird that he thinks it's weird that the police don't remember him all that much. Um, Let me see. Uh, let's see. Na, 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 na. So like a lot of the stuff, the Jubilee's stuff that he found out, the professor knew like some of that or
Yeah.
like could imply it. Like even the stuff that he didn't actually tell the rest of the group, like the professor happens to know that from something else. Um, let's see, what about the stuff from okay, yeah. Commissioner Kabaraki, weeding out corruption. He thinks it's like nice if true. Um, but he has his doubts. But like, yeah, he's just sort of like, all right, like if that's a thing that's happening, then that's good. Like maybe I don't have to tear down the system. Maybe I can just let her do it. Um, let's see. Okay, yeah. The high school student who suddenly, like, mysteriously got their scholarship. Um, that that was a big thing that he was like, okay, there's a chance that that's tied to Azumi's mysterious quote unquote benefactor who brought him back to life. Um, because because it's the only thing he's heard that sounds like that. Um, Na, na, na. Um, Azumi. Oh yeah, the previous Detective Prince. He didn't know there was a previous Detective Prince. Um,
it, it's funny because this character is actually a character from Persona 4.
nice. Um, yeah, it makes sense that Azumi was in charge of the mental shutdown cases. And the thing about when the spirit rogues were popular, the mental shutdown cases like slowed down for a bit. The professor thinks uh, that that either means that uh that Azumi it was either like part of a plot from Azumi and or Endo to sort of like let things fall into a lull before hitting them hard, or um that it was something else and it was like a period of time where like Azumi had kind of let off on the mental shutdowns because he was doing something else or something and he's like he knows Arata and they were doing a whole rivalry thing, so he's like there's something there but he doesn't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that that covers most of the things that he's found significant.
Yeah, it's very interesting the kind of things y'all have been finding out from your respective investigations. You're probably walking around. You probably did your own snooping. Um, Sorry, there's a fly right in my face. um, that said, let me think. You're probably coming back from wherever you were, back to Legree. Because whether or not you know it, this is in fact the thieves' den. Perhaps not the official one, but it is in fact like a hideout. Arata lives here.
Yeah, Arata lives here, and it was in Azumi's notes, which is how he connected the dots in the first place, that Arata was Trickster. But, yeah, so he's like, yeah, this is significant. Like, they were all just hanging out here the other day when they all arrived, when the crew arrived at Yeddo. So, like, yeah, this is at the very least, like, a big hangout spot for them.
Yeah. So you come back in to Legree, probably to like I don't know, wind down, maybe sort through your own thoughts. But the bell above the door chimes, and Boss welcomes you back in. But sitting at the counter is a familiar platinum blonde woman in a suit. Excuse me. Who already has her own cup of coffee and is drinking and reading some notes.
Okay. The professor is going to go up to the counter and sort of go like, is the seat taken?
And she looks up at you, and you haven't interacted much during the Okushima daylight, but she does recognize you, and she just gives you a polite smile, and she says, "Go right ahead."
Yeah, he'll take a seat there, and he'll just sort of like, for a few seconds, just sort of be like, well, and he'll just sort of like turn with a like slightly sheepish look and be like, I was wondering if I could ask you some things.
And excuse me, and she looks back up from her notes and gives you a nod, and she's, wow, my throat. Excuse me. And she gives you a nod, and she says, that entirely depends on what you want to ask about. Of course, a few things about the case are going to be I'm not able to disclose.
Sure. I don't think we got maybe properly introduced, by the way. I'm the professor.
Sai Yoshihiko. And she extends a hand for you to shake.
Yeah, he shakes. And he's gonna roll. Because, well, actually, okay. Well, he rolled and not working today. Nothing.
Can we get some F's for the professor?
That's how it be. But yeah, he'll shake her hand. Pleasure to meet you. Properly.
And she does like a little laugh at that. In the background, you do see that Boss has already like turned to start working on making you a cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
He did that without any prompting, by the way. He just did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the professor notices and just sort of like grins very happily in his direction. Um, but yeah, the professor sort of taps his fingers on the table a bit and says, "Well, let's start with if you can tell me what exactly he's confessed to, because uh I he has told me something, but I do not know if that matches exactly what he's told um, the uh, the officials."
And she does take a moment to like pause and like read over her notes, though you get the impression that she's just kind
Mhm.
of looking at them without really seeing it. And
Yeah.
she just says, "Well, officially, he's confessed to serial murder.
Hmm.
Unofficially, that's the mental shutdowns and psychotic breakdowns, which does line, which does align with Matsuyoshi's Matsuyoshi Endo's confession from almost 3 years ago."
Hmm. Okay. Hmm. Has anyone asked how he did it? Because I understand that that was a matter of some uh speculation when they were happening.
Mm. And you see her pause, and she takes a sip from her own cup of coffee. Um,
Hmm.
and I think she says, "Well, certainly, though that's not exactly something I can disclose."
Hmm. Um, all right. No. Um, let me rephrase. Um I'm not asking how he did it. I'm asking if you can tell me if he's told anyone else how he did it.
I think how she answers is because this is a very complicated topic, even in Persona 5, like in canon. Uh,
Uh-huh.
yeah, you do see her like pause as she tries to figure out a way to word it without making it sound weird.
Yeah.
uh,
Like yeah, but he is also just like, has he told anyone,
yeah,
not like, what is it?
yeah,
He's
and,
he's trying to make that like distinction. Just
yeah, and
hopefully she'll tell him something.
yeah, and she does eventually like sigh, and she just nods her head and she says, "Yes, he did confess to that as well."
Hey, all right. All right. Well, that may complicate matters, but I guess that's his choice. Um, hmm. Well, well, I probably should have asked this first, but everyone's dying to know how he is. I would have to guess mentally not great. Um,
She does wince
but
at that.
yeah. Um, but what about otherwise?
I think she understands fully like what you're implying because I look at
Mm.
Yeddo police
Mm-hmm.
she does kind of like fold her notes and set them aside, and she says, if they wanted to lay a finger on him, they would have to get through me first.
Okay. And he actually like no rolls. Like he actually looks genuinely impressed. Um,
I love that so much.
um, and he thinks for a second and he says, of course that uh ends once the case is over and uh the sentence is decided.
And she does kind of like dip her head, but she
Hmm.
does not again. And oh my god, my voice keeps cracking. Excuse me. Don't know what's going on again.
It's fine.
Probably going through puberty a second time. Don't worry about it. Um, she does, like I said, she dips her head at that and like kind of she does nod and she says, unfortunately.
Okay. Um, let's see. Speaking of, from what you know so far, um, with your experience and what he said, um, what what's his outlook here? What would a sentence for serial murder of this nature entail?
See, here's
As
some.
a educated guess.
Yeah, see, here I am like kind of deviating a little bit from actual Japan just to keep everybody's nerves calm.
Hmm.
um, I think what she ends up saying is, well, it's not exactly good, and she kind of sighs at that, and she says, well, at the very least, they have dismantled the death penalty, but even so, something like this, the biggest case in the past decade, at the least, he would be getting a life sentence.
Hmm. All right. I admit I uh, hadn't expected that there was no death penalty here. But
It's
it's I mean I'm glad that it's gone.
it's a complicated mess.
Hmm. Well, yes, all right. That makes sense. Hmm. Does the I'm not sure if it would, but does it make any difference that he was mm, ordered to do these things? Um, one might argue uh coercion.
And she pauses because she knows exactly what this is, and like she kind of leans back and taps her fingers against the counter as she thinks, and she says, "Best case scenario, yes, it would. We certainly have evidence for it, given Endo's confession. Given that, it might reduce the punishment at the very best."
But it does ultimately come down to the judge and the jury.
Ultimately, yes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Hmm. Hmm. Now, this is a bit of an odd question, but has anyone outside of this situation, um, anyone not obviously connected, contacted you about Azumi recently?
And she kind of pauses, and like she looks like she's about to answer no, but
Hmm.
then she stops herself and says, "Actually, there was Shirahara-san, so
Mm-hmm.
it would make sense that he would be concerned about his kohai." I hope I pronounced that right.
I think that's how you pronounce that.
Yeah,
Oh, that's the out of character. That's the senior detective, yeah.
yeah.
Right, right. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The professor just sort of like nods thoughtfully. All right. That's okay. Good to know. Um,
It wasn't anything. It was. She pauses as she tries to find a way to phrase it. He was genuinely concerned about Azumi's well-being. There wasn't anything else to that conversation when he contacted me.
oh, sure, sure. No, I believe you. Um, I ask because of some odd things that have been happening, and I wonder uh, if you would please do tell one of us if somebody does contact you about the situation going forward, because there seems to be somebody, some anonymous mm, benefactor who has taken an interest in both Azumi and Arata.
And she nods, and she's on the same like page as you, and she says, "This is about the revival, isn't it?"
Yes.
And she just takes another drink from her cup. Your tea is ready, by the way. Boss just kind of sets it in front of you.
Thank you.
And he
He's
gives
very
you
happy.
gives you a nod and acknowledgement and goes back to like washing dishes.
Hmm. The professor is very happy with his tea. His like legs swing a little bit. It's funny.
I love one time czar.
Uh, but uh yeah, but after drinking some of it, he just sort of shrugs and he says, "I wasn't sure if you'd known about that part."
Mm. Well, I do.
Hmm.
Do you want to roll a quick insight?
Sorry, you cut out?
Do you want to roll a quick
Oh,
insight?
absolutely. Okay, that's okay. 17.
Ooh, okay. Excuse me. Um,
Number. I don't know how to use this dice part.
I
This dice spot.
uh oh, if it helps, I have pinned in the nonsense rolls above the like general VC how to
Hmm.
roll with it.
Right. I just want to do math. I there's probably a thing for that, but
Yeah. Um,
it's okay. I'll figure it out later.
if you type in the numbers without the D, it should just be able to do it.
Okay.
Um,
All right. But yeah, anyway.
so you got a 17. That's very good. Even without bullshit mods, that is still a very good roll. Um,
Mm.
you can tell with the way Sai answers and the way she kind of like her gaze kind of turns downcast.
Mm.
Um, she hmm it's not quite heartbroken
Mm.
um when she thinks about the when the around the time that Azumi died.
Mm.
It's more like a mixture of disappointment, like a disappointment an older sibling would have in towards their younger sibling,
Mm-hmm.
and a little bit something else that's conflicted.
Mm.
I think with a 17 you might be able to pick up that she did care about Azumi at one point.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm. Let's see. Well, um, I think he just sort of like lets that sit for a few moments and then uh it's very odd, this situation.
And she raises a brow and looks towards you.
Well, who did it and why? We don't know.
Your guess is as good as mine. And she kind of just sighs.
Hmm.
The obvious the obvious conclusion would be that somebody who knows something about cognitive science.
They would have to.
Yes. And without rolling perception, you do kind of notice that Boss is trying to make it look like he's not paying attention, but at the mention of cognitive science, he does give like a glance in your direction before he
Mm-hmm.
continues just washing dishes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The professor just sort of like drums his fingers on the counter and says, "Well, I know there's one person I know who knows a bit who I intend to um talk to soon, but I don't know if they would know if they've got a network of other people who would know because they seem to uh have at least a significant interest in it. So, but at any rate, the why is still very nebulous.
There is a thought in my head, and it's just trying to put it into words that is very difficult.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, I think what she does is that she takes another sip of her coffee and she says, "It is always the motive."
Quite
Hmm?
said quite
Yeah.
often the sticking point.
Mm-hmm. Who exactly benefits from, well, doing any of this? It's not exactly on the same level as the spirit rogues, and
Mm.
I don't believe any of them are capable of reviving someone like that.
Uh, the beginning cut out. Could you say that
Oh,
again?
I don't believe any of them are capable of reviving someone like that.
Yeah, the professor shakes his head. No, I don't think so. Besides, there was uh, another detail, um, which remains infuriating.
And she does kind of tilt her head at that.
He wasn't, and like he'll glance around to make sure there isn't anyone else in here.
It is a
I mean,
very,
besides,
it is a very quiet cafe.
yeah, besides Satoru. Um, he wasn't just revived. He, there was a charm spell similar to a Geas, but without the um, sort of retribution component that would, as I could read it, um, compel someone to act a certain way, to do something, to carry out some task.
You do. Okay, you mentioned that, like, Azumi had been under a charm spell,
Mm-hmm.
and, uh, fun cultural thing about Yeddo.
Mm.
They do look down upon, magic that manipulates the mind. So you do
Ooh.
see her kind of like instinctively shudder
Mm.
at
Mm-hmm.
that. And Boss doesn't even try to be subtle about it. He does look more in your direction.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But Sai does kind of like readjusts herself. She kind of just there's still that air of professionalism around her as
Right.
she gathers herself again, and she says, "Do you know what the charm was for? Do you know what exactly he was being compelled to do?"
As a matter of fact, I do, and it is most strange. He was being compelled to seek out and make amends with Arata Satomi. Although it was, as he said, as we were able to ascertain through various magical means, and he just sort of like waves a hand, he had been intending to do that anyway. But the fact remains, the charm was there. And it left when he did in fact reunite with Arata and sort of have a talk.
Man, the confusion in this room is so thick. You could cut it
Mm-hmm.
with a knife.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like how I don't think she even knows how to respond to something like that. And
Yeah. I mean, oh yeah.
I think she like looks over to like Satoru. Satoru just kind of shakes his head and shrugs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the professor like also shrugs like I I don't know who could want that or why. I mean, we have some speculation, some ideas that could be part of some grand overarching scheme, something Machiavellian, some mastermind is setting up his chess pieces. Um, but it uh, it isn't clear whether the situation is to their favor or not.
And she does bring a hand to her chin as she kind of thinks this information over. Cause oh
Mhm.
boy, it sure is. It sure
Yeah.
is.
Either way, they're being pretty underhanded about it, and that doesn't typically bode well.
Mm, doesn't. And you can see the way her brows furrow as she thinks.
Mm.
And she kind of just kind of like thinking out loud, kind of like throwing spaghetti at the wall. She kind of murmurs, "That would imply that whoever brought him back needs them for something, unless
Unless that is what we were thinking.
this is just this is just speculation, and honestly, it does seem a
Mm.
little too altruistic. But if not for the motive of needing them for something, the only person that would Hmm. And she kind of, I'm trying to figure out my words. Give me a second.
Mm-hmm.
When Azumi died, Satomi-kun was heartbroken.
Mm-hmm.
The only person in this scenario who would be happy with this outcome in any sense of the term would be Satomi.
Satomi, or somebody who cares very much about his emotional well-being.
That is likely. They would also have to know, because the public doesn't know that Azumi died per se, they just know he disappeared. So the only people who would know to revive Azumi would be those who know the kind of operations that Satomi runs.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and the amount of people that actually know that is not very high.
No.
And we can just you can just sort of eliminate anyone who wouldn't have uh the the power, just the sheer power to 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 do something like that. I mean, that gets rid of most of the people. There's something, there's somebody that we're overlooking. Somebody who knows. Maybe we don't know they know. I don't know how they would have found out, but it's not impossible for somebody to figure it out without being confided in. I mean, and he shrugs. I was able to figure it out before I was told. And I, he just like shrugs more like I wasn't looking for that information. I'm not a detective.
In order to narrow down the list, I don't exactly know who all for certain is in Satomi's network.
Mm-hmm.
So he would have to be the one to narrow that list down.
Sure. Yes, we'll have to try that. Hmm. Very, very strange. Oh, by the by, he's and the way the system works, I mean, I'm new here, but I've seen a legal system or two in my day. Uh, um, probably, mm, Endo's being held somewhere else, right?
Yes. She says that like without missing a beat.
Okay, I thought so, but I wanted to make sure.
Sorry, that's me. I'm so glad that this was a genuine concern.
Yeah.
Oh god, keep those two as far away from each other as possible. Though we all know that if Azumi saw Endo again, he would probably kill him.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Oh god.
uh,
And she does like decisively nod that like yes, they are being. Endo is somewhere else entirely. Don't even worry about it.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Professor seems like content with this, reassured by this information. Like, okay, very good. Drinks tea. uh,
Oof.
hmm.
So,
Well, oh, I'm that's most of what I wanted to ask about, honestly, um is there anything else that might be useful to us? Or in lieu of that, is there anything you'd like to ask me? Anything that I might be able to contribute that might help Azumi?
I could push a thought process in a certain direction, huh?
Mm,
Uh,
yeah?
I think what she does kind of like hum thoughtfully as she like tries to think of something to ask. Um, before she just kind of like sighs and crosses her arms and she says, "When Azumi was still in the public eye as the Detective Prince, he did keep most of his background a secret for, frankly, that's frankly something not something that he can be blamed for. But has he ever told you anything about his family situation?"
Uh, um, I I don't think the professor is like either going to or going to want to like hide that yes, he knows something. So he uh just sort of like leans an elbow on the counter, um, and just sort of looks like conflicted. Um, well, I know a bit, very little, mind. Um, and some of it's more oh, what's the word? Um, oh, what is the word? The when something's like it's evidence, but it's like starts with a C. Like it's not controversial. That's not the word. Um,
Uh, conclusive? No.
no. Uh, ca- uh, um, the whatever the word is, insert whatever the word is that's like it's since it's all like stuff that kind of goes together, but like there's no solid evidence that ties it together, but it's like a whole bunch of little things, that sort of thing. um uh
A hunch?
no, not a hunch, no, not connected.
Thank you, audience, for
There's
trying.
a word. Yes, thank you. But there's a word and it starts with a C and I can't remember it. But that thing. Um, he says some of it's, you know, some of it's just, some of it's not quite confirmed, but um, it's hard not to make connections. Um, and just for the sake of the FPS, I'm gonna say he figured it out during the daisy chains stuff. Because he's gonna continue to roll that until he gets it. Um, thank you, audience, but no. Um, oh, close, but no. Um, I know. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Was a kiss to our listening audience.
Uh, but he just sort of like trails off. What exactly would be useful?
How does she phrase it? I think she like pauses before she like tries to say something in her own defense before she just kind of shakes her head and she's just I admit it was more of a personal concern. He's never
Hmm.
spoken about parents or family to me before, so I was just
Ah, right. Well, perhaps this much is not too difficult to figure out, but he's not had um functional parents for most of his life.
and she does kind of frown at that, but she does nod like, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Hmm.
I mean, have you seen how non-functional Azumi is?
Uh-huh.
But she just does kind of sigh and like rub her hand um against her face.
Did did he ever did he ever mm, expand on his motive for carrying out the mental shutdowns and psychotic breakdowns? I mean, aside from, yes, being ordered to, being paid to, whatever, but anything more personal he might have mentioned.
Beyond that, all he's told anyone is that he'd done it as a means to get close to Endo. There is definitely some sort of personal grudge there, but it's not exactly something he's too keen on sharing. I have a feeling he's going to keep away from it for as long as possible.
Quite. Yes, well, that tracks. Well, hmm. I can say that he's had this grudge against Endo for a very, very, very long time. Longer than one might guess. Longer than one might think possible, even.
I'm gonna roll something for her. Fun fact
Mhm.
for a listening audience who don't know, all the NPCs except for other members of the Speared Rogues and like a select few have NPC stats, which means they're just straight D20s.
Mhm.
Oh no, Sai, honey,
Oh,
that's a 4.
oh, oh no.
I don't think she puts it together. I don't think she's getting what you're trying to like imply, but she does kind of like nod and she says, um, that is what I suspected, at least.
I did figure out the word. It's circumstantial. Circumstantial evidence.
Circumstantial! Ugh.
That's the one. Ugh. Anyway. Whew. Yeah. Well, she didn't connect the dots.
Not
Um,
yet.
no, not yet. Give it a few days, let it percolate. Um, but yeah, I I think I think that that's all he's willing to give at
Mm-hmm.
this point, like until it becomes clear that something else might be relevant or useful. But it's just sort of like evident in the way like his he like he'd been sort of leaning on the counter. He just sort of like straightens up and uh drinks more tea. Like his body language is saying like it's like closing off that part of the conversation. Like that's all he's gonna say about that, basically.
Alright. Yeah, no, that's fine.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, if that's all Professor's
I
gonna.
mean, that's
Oh,
oh, I was just gonna say like that's like she didn't even have to get that much out of him. So like yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's fair. Um, as I try to find words. I mean, if that's all Professor had to ask and has to
Mhm.
give, uh, I could start a little bit of a wrap up scene.
Can I roll something first?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. I'd like to roll probably intelligence to see if the professor has connected a pair of dots that I have connected.
Oh,
Um yeah. I yeah. Oh, well, that's on its edge. That doesn't work.
don't you just love it when the dice do that?
Oh, a 2. That's nothing. All right. Nope. Nope, he has nothing. Ah, okay. I'll
Well,
have to do that again later. Yeah, no, go ahead and do the wrap-up scene then.
all right. It is a little bit of something special that I can do in your direction. Um, I forgot what it's called. I don't think it's a sending stone. I think stone of far speech.
Oh.
Whatever it is, Yeddo's
Hmm.
probably got like a more abundant equivalent to it, a little bit
Hmm.
more
Yeah,
uh,
Stone of Far Speech.
yeah, a little bit more what's the readily available, I guess, commercial,
Uh-huh.
a more commercial version of it. So like of course, Sai's probably gonna have one on hand because of her job. Um,
Hmm.
um, there is probably a moment where she picks up a call, so to speak, um,
Mm.
and around this time, she does place like an amount of gold for on the counter for boss to pick up. Um,
Hmm.
and she starts talking in Yiddish. Um,
Hmm.
do you want to roll your intelligence to see if you can like understand what she's saying?
Um, can I where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Uh, can I cast tongues on myself to understand it?
Hang on.
Um,
Oh my god.
duration an hour, range touch, casting time one action.
Oh my god. Yeah, go for it.
Yay! Yeah, he does that, so now he can understand Yiddish.
All right.
Perfectly.
All right. I won't say word for word
Sure, sure,
some of
sure.
the things that she's saying. Uh like there's the usual like uh and greeting and being like, yes, this is Sai Yoshihiko, etc.,
Hmm.
etc. Um, um, she does start to get a little bit more frustrated because apparently
Mm.
somebody is calling her about the case at hand.
Mm.
Um, and then how do I put this into words? Um, and then she starts to say something but stops mid sentence uh, and just reacts in complete surprise. Um, she probably says something along the lines of, "Well, is he going out now?"
Ooh.
And and then there's another pause as she listens to the other end of the line and says, "What does Shirahara-san have to do with this?
Mm.
He's just there."
Uh,
And and then there's another pause before she frustratedly brings a hand to her face and and uh and says, "What do you mean they just let him out?"
uh,
Before there's a little bit more of like that kind of back and forth. Before she finally just sighs and says, "Just keep him there. I'll be there in just a minute." And hangs up, or the equivalent of a hanging up on the stone of far speech as she stands up
mhm.
from her seat and says, "I have to go back to the station right now. Um, actually,"
Something wrong?
and she pauses and looks between the stone of far speech and then back at you, and she says, "The authorities have decided to let Azumi go."
Why?
I'm about to head there myself to find out. Do you think you could bring Camille with you?
Yes. Yes. I'll I'll go pick him up.
And she nods and she starts hurrying her way out the door.
Hmm. Oh, wow. Oh boy. Man. The professor's just 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 kind of like shocked. And just sort of like shakes his head and finishes his tea, uh puts some gold down on the counter. Um and just sort of like uh waves back to Satoru um as he's leaving and says, "The adventure continues."
Uh, you probably like head right out the door, and just as the door starts to swing closed, we, the audience, see Satoru just sigh so exasperatedly and just goes, oh, "For fuck's sake." And that's where we end.
Gosh. Oh boy. Oh wow.
And thank you so much for playing this FPS with me, Oatmeal.
Yeah, thank you for running it. Oh, and thank you, audience, for listening, present and future. And we bid everyone a good time zone.
Bye.
Bye.